I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drone Camps RC. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Drone Camps channel. I'm Justin Davis. If you'd like to get entered in to win the Tiny Hawk, please make a comment down below on this video because we're giving it away on December 2nd. Also, if you guys would like to keep the honest reviews coming, please become my Patreon. I beg of you to do that for $1 or more. I have different tier levels available, and you can even get a free t-shirt with your bundle or even FPV gear. I give away random drone drop boxes to my really big Patreon, so it's an awesome thing. But coming up December 2nd, set drawing, so be sure to make your comment. But today it's all about the LDARC Tiny GT7. Just came in my door a couple days ago, and I had to take it out today and fly it for you guys. I went through a whole bunch of different batteries, so we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of this quad versus the Mobula7 down here. They are exactly the same size frame. Both are 75mm frames, but one has something over the other one, and the other one has something over the other one that you can decide what's going to be right for you, because each quad is different out there, and it's good that reviewers like me can go through these quads for you, find out the pros and cons. If they're honestly reported back to you guys, that makes a difference when you go to purchase something. So this one retails for around $113.99 on GearBest's website. I think you can get it with the discount and get about a 6% off, so that might bring it down close to around $100, which would be a pretty decent deal, including a battery, extra props, and this pretty cool case it comes with. I'm going to pair it up today with my FrSky X Lite transmitter that I have sitting here. That is an awesome combo. I just got that this week, and I'm super excited about it because it's the perfect radio for micro brushless, and I get a lot of them here in the channel. Since it's whoop season, we're going to go outdoors now. I'm going to go to a little local playground, and we're going to do some flying with this. We'll do some line of sight, and we'll do some FPV. I'll show you how it flies in acro and in stabilized mode, and we're going to use that stock battery that came with it. It came with a 2S 380 milliamp per hour battery. Also, it does come with different receiver options: DSM2 receiver, PMP no receiver, FlySky receiver, or FrSky receiver. So we'll talk about all the specs when we get back, but enjoy the flight test. This one is a lot of fun and proves to be actually pretty durable, which is very good news for you guys. Here we go. A little bit windy. Woo! Outdoors. Come on back. Flying in acro. Flying pretty good with all this wind even. That's the punch that I'm looking for. Punch out. Uh oh. Cut some grass. Feels pretty good. Flips really nice. Forwards and backwards. Let's check out the hover. Being pushed around by a little bit of wind. Looking good though. Punch out way up there. Way up there. Come back in acro. Come on back. Can I figure it out? Yeah, nice. That was a little far out there. All right, let's do some FPV. Here we go, guys. All right, now we get to do the flight test. I couldn't wait to get out here to fly this. The GT7 looks so cool right out of the box. It felt really solid in my hand. It is quite a bit bigger than the Mobula7, and it feels a lot more beefy. It runs a lot bigger battery. So I was interested to see how this was going to translate to the flight characteristic. Now, it does feel heavier right away than the Mobula7. It doesn't have the same power weight ratio. So this one drives more like a truck versus like something like a sports car. The Mobula7 is super fast and snappy, but this one is still very predictable. It tracks really straight. I'm even able to get underneath those picnic tables, which is kind of amazing. Blasting around the playground, still having just as much fun with this particular quad as I did the Mobula7. So this one flies different though. So going up really high above the playground. And a nice day to fly the playground because it just rained a whole lot, so I have it all to myself here. Really interesting place to fly and test out a video transmitter because there's tons of metal structures around in that playground, little fences everywhere, and the more you get around large metal objects, the more your transmission breaks up. So that's why you're seeing some break up here and going in between things, and really places where I thought I was going to fail safe. This AC900 held up, which was really impressive. Going behind like solid objects usually makes me just totally lose signal and fail safe, and it didn't happen with this one. I've flown with the AC800 a while back, I believe a couple years ago, and one of the first little micro receivers that I've seen that would fit on a micro brushless, and that one didn't make it very far. About a football field was about all I could get. But this one's getting me out there about 2 football fields, which is really good. So I can go way up high and not worry too much about fail-safing. The only thing that you have to worry about with these type of quads is the wind, your weather conditions. Outdoors it's going to get pushed around a lot if it is a little bit windy. We had a front moving in here. You can see it just beyond those trees right there. Started to push a little bit of wind in my direction, and as the wind increased, it became harder to fly this guy. So on your very calm days, man, look at that. There goes a durability test for the prop guards. Didn't get a crack in it from hitting a metal pole, and another hit right there, and a really big crash. So I wanted to show you guys a really nice crash because I don't always pull out of my maneuvers. Some of the guys won't show you the crashes, but this is a review, so it's good for you to see a crash and then see that it came back in the studio in one piece. It's not broken to pieces. And flying really good, straight, and very predictable, like most whoops are. These just a little bit larger motors on this quad help this quad out a lot. I think if it was motored down just one size, it wouldn't be this much fun. But it is a ton of fun to rip around this little playground. It's so small. There was a couple workers there that day, and they actually built this place, and they didn't seem to mind that I was there. No big deal. And one of the younger guys mentioned that he had himself a drone too, so he bought his for 20 bucks. This one's a little more expensive than that, but it has a camera on it, so looking good, still tracking pretty good around the playground. Getting pushed around by a little bit of wind there. You can see that corner slowing me down in the corner. The wind's coming across the playground, so when I come back around this direction, that's where you can see me start to get pushed the other direction. But man, I have plenty of control with this quad. No problem. I'm flying completely in acro right here too, if you guys didn't know that. It doesn't tell you on the screen what mode you're in. The little orbit mode here, and that's the low battery right there, letting you know. But super cool. You can fly all the same modes in beta flight. You can fly stability mode, you can fly horizon, you can fly the acro mode, no problem. Pretty sweet quad though. It's about what I was expecting from the GT7. A little bit bigger battery than the Mobula can carry. You can carry over 500 milliamp with this quad, no problem. Quite maneuverable, and this is a little test around really small spaces, outdoor small space. And that little hole there is about a foot high, maybe. So pretty precise little quad. Back under the picnic tables, bouncing around a little bit there off the battery, and this is looking good. So let's go back in the studio. Let's take a little closer look at this quad, and I'll show you what it's all about.
All right, guys, welcome back from the flight test. I'm super excited to show you guys this one. I really like what LDARC is doing lately with their releases. Most of them have been flying good. I love the cases that they're including with them. This one has a little lock right there. You can press it to the left and it locks it for transport. So you can even take this plastic piece out of the inside and put tons of extra gear in here. You could probably put all your entire winter whoop collection inside this box. It's huge, and all of your accessories. So the Tiny GT7 does come in several different receiver orientations. You can get no RX with it, and that means no receiver, just add your own, solder up your own, or you can get the FlySky one, the RX2A Pro. And you can get also for Spectrum DSM2, you can get the AC900 for FrSky, FreeSky Tyrannus radios. So that's the one I chose, and I paired it up with the X-Lite, and it flew really, really great. But let me go ahead and open up the box. I'll show you what's inside here. I'll just pull this out. It comes with this plastic case for your GT7, and I've been using these batteries lately. These 2S 300 milliamp from GMBs, these are awesome. They are running 80C to 160C, and they are HV. So 4.35 volts, you can charge them up to a max, or you can charge them at 4.2 regular LiPo style. Just put a little bit of Velcro on the back. And the coolest thing about this quad is the fact that even though it has this XT30 on there, they have this connector on here, so you can actually use just about any style battery. As long as there's a balance port on there, which most 2S batteries have, all of them have, you can run just about any battery on here in your whoop collection, which makes it really, really convenient. So if there's a JST on here, it doesn't matter. If there's an XT30, it doesn't matter. But these are really great batteries. Now, the stock battery it came with was a 2S 380 milliamp per hour battery, and I didn't like the way they had it set up in here. I have to show you guys this. There's a little piece of plastic here from the frame, and this was pretty much limiting me to using the stock battery that it came with, because these batteries just slid around in there. So I needed to just take a pair of snips, snip that off, and then put yourself a piece of Velcro here with a little micro iFlight strap around it. And you run it front to back, just like I did here. You can't run it side to side, but you can put your battery on the side like this, and then you can use just about any size battery on here. So I have some other batteries that are wider, some are longer, and they all balance out just fine if you do it like this. And you can also add a little bit of hot glue on each side of the Velcro, just to make sure that your Velcro stays put. It doesn't come off when you pull your battery off, and that works actually quite well. Now, also in the box, you guys get some extras here. You get a data cable for hooking this up to Betaflight, and the port is right in the front right there. There's a little USB port. I was concerned with where they put this. I felt like it should have been tucked in the bottom somewhere on the flight controller, but this actually guards it pretty well in a frontal crash. I was worried that this might get broken off, because these are really notoriously easy to break off. You have to be very careful with your USB ports. Now, also you get an instruction manual on how to bind up the D16 receiver. Now, this is for you FreeSky guys, and the instructions are right here for the AC900. And this is a particular way that this binds up. If you turn on the transmitter, and this is the English side right here, but if you turn on the AC900, plug in the quad, then you push on the key that's on the transmitter itself. There's a little gold button. Hold that gold button down. It's going to start blinking really fast, green. Once it's blinking really fast, then you turn on your FreeSky radio and push the bind button on D16 mode, and then it should turn to a solid green mode. It's going to blink one time red, solid, then it's going to mean it's finished, and then you're going to restart it. And when you restart everything, you should see a green light just underneath here. So before you put this Velcro on, you're going to go ahead and bind up your transmitter. It also has information on how to bind up Futaba as well. So it looks like it has a Futaba option. If you don't see a green light and it's red, that means that your receiver is not bound up correctly. So nice that they include those instructions along with it. You also get some stickers in here, and they're always pretty liberal with their stickers. Look at all the stickers you get. There's a ton of stickers for dressing up your canopy. You can put some racing checkers on there, put GT8 even if you wanted to. Pretend this was a GT8, but this is the 7. So this is a 75 millimeter frame. It's exactly the same size as the Mobula7. Check that out. These two next to each other. The Mobula actually has 16,000 kV 0802 motors, whereas this one has 0803, just a little bit bigger motor, but it is only 9,000 kV, so not quite as high of RPMs per kilovolt, but this is very sufficient for running this entire quad. Now, one thing you also need to notice here is check out the thickness of the GT7 next to the Mobula. Now, if you watched my review on the Mobula7, this one right here, you notice that this is my second one. This is the one that hasn't been flown yet. The other one is in shambles. I broke every single prop guard on here and parts of the frame, the battery bay, everything. This frame seems to be not quite as durable as this one, because this is what this one looks like after I brought it back from the flight test. So everything is really solid. Look how rigid this frame is. Let me just try to bend it this way and this way. You can see that this is a really solid frame. Very, very solid. Nothing came back cracked. None of the struts, the supports underneath here, there's a little bit of dirt. There are some scuffs in here somewhere on the very top. This top piece did not have any problems. It only has 2 bolts holding this one on, 2 posts in the very back when you go to pull this off. And there are 2 separate layers here for the top video transmitter and camera. And underneath here is your flight controller and 10 amp ESCs. Now, it is an SP Racing F3 flight controller, and you have that little antenna in the very back for your video signal. And just underneath here is where your AC900 receiver comes out, your antenna there. And I was afraid where this is, where they had this position, that I wasn't going to get a very good range, and it actually went out there. Probably, you can probably get 2 football fields out before you fail safe with this little guy, which is pretty impressive. Now, also in the box, you get the GT7, GT8 manual, and this just goes over everything in here, all the specs, the layout of the flight controller in here, which I really love. That's really cool that they have that. You have a boot button in there as well if you want to reflash this one up to the latest beta flight. Now, one thing about this OSD is this OSD is built into the configuration of the flight controller. The OSD beta flight is not configurable with this particular flight controller, so one thing to think about there. And if you guys find out that it is configurable, let me know, because I haven't been able to make it change anything in the OSD yet. So that might be one con about this one versus the Mobula7, because the Mobula7 is configurable inside beta flight. So for guys that don't want to mess around too much in beta flight, this one might be the better choice for you. You also get some extra hardware in here, and these are the M2 6mm. These are for your props, and you get another bag of hardware, and these are smaller. They're M2 4mm. You get 12 of those, and those are for your motors. Those are just a little shorter, so don't use the longer screws on your motors. You'll damage the motors. And speaking of the motors, what's really nice is you do have open bottom design here with that LDARC brand, and you can see that the screws just barely come up through the bottom. So that's how your screws should look on the bottom of this quad. Now, also inside the box, you get a converter. And this is great because you're going to need this to charge this battery. You can plug this into the end right here, and now you have a JST, a red JST, to charge it up on your standalone charger. And I guess one other con about this GT7 might be the fact that it didn't come with the charger. The Mobula7 does come with a charger, but it also takes the tiny little batteries versus these much larger micro brushless style batteries. But that's the converter right there. And like I said, it's really cool because you can use, because they decided to use this balance lead as a plug-in on this quad, you can use just about any battery that you own as long as it's a 2S. And if you guys want to run this on 1S, you can do that with this little converter right here. If you just plug this in to that 2S balance port, now you have a JST for your 1S battery. So you can fly this one indoors on 1S. You do have that option with the GT7. And also in the box, you get 3 sets of props total. One came on the quad, and you get an extra 2 sets in here. You get 2 sets of red and 1 set of these sort of smoke colored props. And I believe these were, what size were these? These were 1535. And I'll try to put some links down below for these as well, so you guys can grab some more props. And I think the most impressive thing about this quad so far for me is the fact that it came back in one piece. Not a single broken part of the frame. I wouldn't even say that you would have to buy an extra frame for this if you get this one. So for around the same price as the Mobula7, this is a little better value for all the stuff that you get with it, including the big case and a longer flight time battery. You're probably going to get around 4 minutes, a little about 4.5 minutes with that battery that comes along with it, that 380. I would almost say you could fly a 2S 500 milliamp on this quad, no problem, because of the little larger motor that it has. Okay, so let's go ahead and weigh these 3 quads right here. We'll just do a little quick comparison of all of these. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the scale for you. We'll put the GT7 on there first. We get 42.8 grams. Now let's go ahead and weigh the Mobula7. 28.7. So the GT7 is way heavier than the Mobula7. And you can tell that by the frame, by looking at the frame. 43.2 grams. That's also because they have a much larger video system up in here. 25 milliwatt, by the way. Let's go ahead and put the battery on there. And this is going to bring it way up in the weight class. Let's see what it brings it up to. You guys. Okay. And now we're at 64.4 grams total takeoff weight. And let's put the batteries on the Mobula7. This is going to be a much lighter quad, so if you're looking for lightweight, but remember you can fly in more wind if you have more weight, so that's one thing to consider. So 42.6 grams total takeoff weight for the Mobula7, and I believe that's even close to what this one weighs without a battery. Yeah, so quite a difference in weight. Mobula7 is definitely way lighter, and I don't discriminate quads here. Let's go ahead and tuck that underneath, get it back on the scale. Yeah, 44.5 grams. Let's weigh the little the US 6.5 there, 28.3, and that flew with 1 battery, so there's already 1 on there. Without a battery, it's 21.7 grams. That is really ultra light. So these little 1S whoops are the lightest in the class, but these are usually mostly indoor quadcopters. But this frame did also not fare well in my testing. 28.3 grams total takeoff weight. So yeah, big difference between the Mobula7 with its 2 batteries. But remember, this one's not going to handle quite as much wind as the GT7. 42.5 grams total takeoff weight versus total takeoff weight for the GT7 is 64.3 grams. So quite a big difference, but like I said again, this one is going to handle more wind than the Mobula7. This one's going to fly a little lighter in the power to weight ratio. So whereas this one, you might feel the weight a little more, but you're going to use more throttle compensate because this one does have larger motors. So that's about it for the LDARC Tiny GT7. I think they have something really good here. I like the case. I like all the accessories that came with it. I like the fact that it does come pre-flashed with Betaflight. It comes with a 2S battery that you can use any type of battery setup on. And with this little bit of mod right here, you can really have a lot of fun with all different shapes and sizes of batteries. I wouldn't stick with the stock setup right here because that's really going to limit you. But we have a really durable frame here. And this is really refreshing because the last couple months I've been having a lot of fun with a lot of my indoor whoops. And as you can see, I've done tons of videos on them lately. And it is whoop season, so it's refreshing that something came in that didn't break on me. Finally, I have a frame that is rigid, and this is a 5-star frame all the way around. If you could transfer a Mobula7 gear onto this frame, I would go for this. It might even be a little bit more durable than the Beta FPV frame that everyone else is buying because I didn't even break a strut, and I have broken some Beta FPV frames. Just a few minor scuffs on here. Look at this right here, just one little scuff. I thought it was a crack, but it's just a little tiny scuff, and it actually comes right off. And that's a really, really durable frame. So 5 stars on the frame. I would say 4.3 for the hardware that's on here, taking off a few points because of the non-plug-and-play motors. So that's one thing to consider versus the Mobula7. One other thing is that it is a little bit heavier, but it is rocking some larger motors. It also has the option to do 1S or 2S, which I like a lot. So you have a lot of options here. The one thing that I can't rate super high is that I couldn't figure out how to change up the OSD. There might be some type of configurator out there for that to be able to change that up, or it might be built right into this VTX. So that's one thing to be considered, is non-configurable OSD. But if you're brand new to the hobby, don't worry about that, because it already has a battery warning. It tells you all your battery telemetry on screen, and the OSD is fully functional. Now, one other thing I would suggest is putting a little dab of hot glue here to keep this wire from getting pulled, because it's only soldered to a single point on this video transmitter, and 25 milliwatts was enough on this to get me pretty far out there. I was probably, like I said, like 2 football fields out there on 25 milliwatt. So not a bad camera either, and I'm rocking, I believe it's 700 TBL, which was decent. I did have some breakup out of the playground, mainly because I was flying around huge metal structures, and you're going to get that whenever you fly around anything like a large baseball field fence. You'll get some kind of interference from large metal structures. It just happens. But overall, the fun factor is definitely a 5 out of 5. It was a lot of fun to fly. I had plenty of punch out. It's fun to fly in stability mode or acro. So the acro did pretty well. I wouldn't say it's quite as nimble as the Mobula7 is, but it is definitely an acro trainer by all means, because if you crash this one, it's just going to bounce. I was bouncing off of playground equipment with this guy, and normally when I take these things into the playground, they don't survive. They come home looking like the Mobula7 did. So if you want to fly playgrounds and stuff, this might be the beast to do that and come home with a whoop that's still in one piece. As far as an overall rating, I'm going to say this one is about a 4.8 out of 5, and just taking off a few points for that OSD, but really scoring really high with the fun factor. The durability factor is 5 out of 5, and the components seem to be holding up on here as well. So I have no real complaints for this quad too much. It's a pretty versatile quad with a little bit of mod, and being able to use any batteries along with it make it really awesome. So I think this one is probably one that I would stand behind and worth picking up for sure. Definitely worth considering for around the same price as the Mobula7. So you can check this one out in the link below, and I'll try to leave you guys a coupon for it if you want to check one out and get this awesome case that comes along with it too. So variety of receivers, the converter, super awesome case, and a battery to start with. And that's the Tiny GT7, guys. Hope to review the GT8 coming up for you pretty soon on the channel. So please do subscribe, make those comments below, guys, because that drawing's coming up super fast. December 2nd's almost here. I'm going to ship that Tiny Hawk out to somebody's front door. Thanks again for hanging out with me, you guys, and flying. I'm Justin Davis. See you guys. Happy holidays. See you on the next one.